Okay, hello. My name is Kevin, and
I'm Robert.
this is our book talk. All right. So I read the Translaw Saga. I don't have it with me because I wasn't aware we were doing this today, but it's called the Translaw Saga. Take a word for it. Robert, what's your book?
My book is Peter and the Starcatchers. It's sort of a prequel to Peter Pan.
Excellent. All right. So I guess I'll start with my summary. So basically, it's about this guy. Think of it as like it's like Hatchet, but on an alien planet at first, right? So this guy goes hiking in like the Mojave Desert or something like that, and he gets abducted by this big blue beam of light, right? And then he finds himself in this just transported to this kind of extraterrestrial terrain, like it's a planet that's like alien. The grass is red and stuff like that. So he has to survive on like a whole different planet. And then he comes across this tribe of humanoid species, and they end up capturing him and enslaving him. And then he gets his freedom back by kind of like getting to know them. He learns a language. He learns a lot about the planet, and then he ends up saving the tribe because he warns them of a different of an attack from another tribe, right? Um, and then as a gift, he gets this glass shard. But it turns out that glass shard is a Coca-Cola bottle, right? So it's like, oh my gosh, like, where did that come from, right? So then he gets told about this magical like kind of sage kind of guy, and his name is the Mercon, and he knows about apparently like what happened to the world. So Markin goes and visits him, and long story short, the Mercon ends up like trying to kill him for some reason, and it turns out that he's on Earth the entire time. This is a post-apocalyptic Earth, okay? Um, and basically, like I mean, throughout the story, you kind of have there's two different species of humanoid, I guess, species, and they kind of it's like a undertone of racism between them, and Mark tries to settle differences. So I think that one of the major themes in that book is just kind of like equality and tolerance and things like that. So that's basically he gets transported back, and yeah, ends pretty happily.
So, like I said, my book, your book was really cool. Mine was, I read more so because I heard that originally I picked up the book because I was going to go see a play of by the same name. But I've also read the original Peter Pan, so I thought this would be like an interesting kind of prequel to it. So it starts off basically Peter and his friends from the orphanage are going on the ship. I can't remember exactly why they were going on the ship, but uh, basically there's two ships that are docked. One's the Neverland, which is the only one I'm going to focus on. But they basically what the boys do is they hide in a trunk, and it gets swapped with another trunk that looks very similar onto the Neverland. So they end up on the Neverland, which ends up getting taken over by pirates and all that stuff and fun stuff. And then you meet characters that eventually appear into the original story of Peter Pan. So it's basically just giving more backstory to all these characters. Another thing that I think is really important in this book is that they have the theme of the whole never growing up thing. Like, age is an important theme in this book. When they talk about Peter and the boys and their age, it's like very different. I can't remember exactly, but one of the characters they poke fun at him because they don't know his exact age, and they also say like Peter was considered the leader in certain cases because he was the oldest, but because they were in an orphanage for so long, it was not the best situation because orphanages are not typically great places to be.
True.
Um, so they don't know exactly how old everybody is. So that's an important thing that comes into the book. So fast forward a little bit, they're on the ship. There's pirates on the ship. You get a little bit of a glimpse as to how Captain Hook loses his hand, and basically the chest, the trunk or the treasure chest or whatever that's there. When you touch it, it like makes you feel really, really good. So the way they describe it, it's like a very insatiable feeling. One of the characters in the book has a problem with his legs, and when he touches the trunk, he loses that like terrible feeling in his legs, and he gets it back, so it feels a lot younger. So when Hook goes to touch it, he ends up the trunk ends up collapsing on top of his hand, and that's how he loses his hand. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And so that's pretty cool. And then they also introduce other characters like Smee. You get to see how he kind of stays pretty static like he does in the original Peter Pan. And of course, it ends with them going to Neverland, essentially. So that kind of gives you an idea of how Neverland gets called Neverland. It's because of the ship, right? It's named after the ship. I thought what was really touching is that Peter and his love interest throughout the book, she has to go back. He decides to stay with the Lost Boys in Neverland, and she makes him promise that he won't grow up, right? And so that's kind of like the magic behind him never growing up. So I thought that was really cool. It's not a terribly bad book. I would recommend it if you've read the original Peter Pan, but if you haven't, it's still an okay read.
Excellent. Yeah, mine, I would recommend it, definitely. It's like, if you liked Hatchet, I know a lot of people didn't because you have to read it in school and it kind of sucks, but like, it was a good book. I mean, it was like survival and it had important themes. I just liked it a lot.
All right.
Excellent.
So double recommendation.
Yeah,
Double
10
thumbs
out of 10.